Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we have a mission to wake the world up to what's possible, one brave word at a time. And here today to help me with that mission are a couple of the amazing authors of a new book we have coming out soon, Shaman Heart: Turning Pain into Passion and Purpose. And before I introduce them to you, I don't want to forget to say a huge thank you to Miss Stephanie Urbina Jones and her husband, Jeremy, for getting us together, bringing this stellar group of author master teachers together for this amazing project. And not only did we come together to write a book together, but we spent some really profound time in Teo, Mexico, working on the book, doing the healing journey together. I could talk the entire interview about how amazing that was. So instead, I will let these wonderful people do a little bit of that. So today I have with me Pamela Johnson. She's a holistic practitioner and the director of the Lotus Sanctuary, a nonprofit where they seek to provide healing that transforms the lives of PTSD and trauma survivors. And John Mercedes is a master level energy healing practitioner, the co-owner of Profound Life Wellness, where they offer transformational coaching sessions, workshops, and sacred travel journeys. Welcome, you two.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
I am so happy to have you both here. Thank you so much for saying yes to this project and for stepping up in just the brilliant way that you did to share your vulnerable stories. And not only do we have your stories, but we have some of your master teachings in this book. And I'm so grateful to you guys for being able to do that for the reader. It's one thing you guys sit and teach your clients and your people all day long, but it's quite another thing to put that in words in a book and make that a really awesome practical experience for the reader. So thank you for both for doing that. John, let's start this party with you. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Well, thanks, Laura. So, it's interesting. I wouldn't necessarily have thought it was going to be an amazing chapter, but when it was complete, there it was. I like to tell people that we always have everything we need to get to the next place, but we're just trapped in it. And, my story that I was sharing with people was about my life and how I actually didn't know that I was in such a bad situation, which made it a little bit easier for me to keep going. And sometimes when we know that we're in a bad situation, we shut down. But I was fortunate enough that I wasn't shut down in that really hard sense. I just kept going despite what was going on around me until the one day when I had the realization, wow, this is a really violent environment that I'm growing up in. I've got to do something different in my life. I was a young kid and I decided that, I'm just going to do things I like to do. I'm going to do everything I can, do the best I can do. And that's really what started the process for me of being free from the prison, if you want to call it that, or if I want to call it that, the prison I had put myself inside of, where I was pretty much hiding from everything in life. So it was a transformation that happened over time, but then in an instant, suddenly life was different. It was kind of fun to see the way that worked out looking back at it. I remind people all the time, sometimes the only way we know where we've come is to look back. And as I was writing the story, I had this really great opportunity to look back at what I was going through in my childhood and say, wow, something changed for me one day and my life became different. And it was just, it came organically with a little bit of prodding from my inner self, something like that.
Well, being able to look at all of those things as an opportunity is a ninja move of awareness. That's what I call them. Right. So tell me a little bit more about that awareness and how that developed. How important was that awareness journey for you? And even later in your life to getting to teacher status?
Yeah. Awareness is a big word, but it's hard to explain because it's so much more than what we're kind of in the vernacular of right now. People talk about awareness, they suddenly think of meditation, but awareness is just noticing something that you normally don't notice. This is what I call awareness. And when you notice something that you normally don't notice, you can move in a new way. So what was happening for me, I was living in a life, I grew up in a town where there was a lot of people that were much more affluent than my family. I have, relatively dark skin. I love being outside, so I was really kind of dark when I was growing up, and I was pretty fat. And I was getting called names like kids will do, and I and that was bothering me, and it just was making me smaller and smaller and smaller. And then one day I said, I'm still who I am. I can still run fast. I can still play sports. I can still talk to people. I'm just going to let that be who I am. So I just started doing it anyway, something like that.
We like that. You feel the stuff and you do it anyway. And that honestly, I think we take for granted our own courage sometimes. So I'll just say to you that that took courage for you to do it anyway. Not everybody is able to move with the feeling of shame or fear or judgment or all of the things, right, that we all feel.
Mm.
So one of the things I know about you is that you're a martial artist.
Yeah.
And I think that that is a piece of what brings people to another level of awareness or ability to practice the movement through fear, because you've been trained to discipline your mindset. Want to talk about that for a minute?
Sure. So martial arts is a great arena for life when we get past the fighting part of it. Everybody's a little hooked into the whole fighting part about it, but it is a discipline. And when I use the word discipline, I'm not talking about the punitive aspect of discipline where you're being disciplined. Discipline is like this overarching energy that settles in on us and it gives us a way to align our life. What I like about martial arts is when you're training on the mat, you're only worried about what's happening now. You're never worrying about what's going to happen and what just happened. And you tend to just focus on where you are in the world and how you relate to the things around you. Interesting thing, I used to teach this thing called wisdom martial arts, where I'd have people just throw a few punches and hold their guard, and I could tell them exactly how they live their life. Because a lot of people are holding their guard in here and they're throwing these little punches, and I go, wow, you're really shut down in your life. You're letting people get so close to you that you don't have a way to respond once they're pressuring you too much. So we learn about space in martial arts. And when we can create that space for ourselves, we can see how to move differently.
I love that. Thank you. What a great visual. And I think it's really cool that you took that, what you were observing in the punches. I know about that, right? Yeah, awesome. Thank you, John. Thank you also for being one of the very few men in this project. Wanted to say a special thank you for being who you are and holding the space for the group as a man. I think, let's see, how many do we have in this project, you guys? Four, I don't want to forget anyone. 3, 4, 6. Am I forgetting people?
There's
Um,
26 of us there. We had three guys. Yeah.
right. That's what I thought. 3 men. So thank you for that. Okay. So, Pamela, tell us about your amazing chapter.
Sure. So mine is the journey of how I became a healer. I was new to this world, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and I'd always been intuitive, always believed in, certain things, spiritual things, and, grew up as a Christian and in church, and, always believed in God and a higher being, higher source. And so I went through this traumatic experience, and through that, I found, a new way of being. I found new friends. I found basically a whole new life. I went through a rape in 2004, and it just transformed me. It spent a couple of years because I was drugged at the time, and I didn't remember a lot of things. It was really easy for me to be in denial about it. Took a couple of years for my life to completely fall off the wheels, and then I had to kind of go back and regroup and adjust and figure out what's wrong with my life. Why am I not operating right? And then go and get some help and heal myself. And so that's what I did. And in that process, learned about healing and became a healer. So that's what my chapter is about. I'm telling the story of how that all transpired and all the people that helped me.
How was it for you to write that story? Had you written it before?
No.
So talk a little bit about the process of writing it. And I just think you're very, very brave, and there will be somebody who needs to read that. So thank you for that. But how was that for you?
It was hard. It was hard to go back and revisit it. I wrote a journal entry, which I included in the book, and that was the only time I ever wrote about it. And it took me a long time. It took me a year into group work to write that. And so going back, there were some tears and there were some realizations, but just seeing how far I'd come and just being able to go, okay, I made it past that, and look at all the blessings that came to me after that. And in the way that I am now really geared that, that it's my life purpose to give back. I feel like people on that walk need to know there is life on the other side. There is a way to get through it. There is a way to, you can't, if you just bury it, it's going to affect you in ways that you don't even know about the whole rest of your life. But taking that moment to stop and deal with it and figuring out a way for you to, integrate those feelings and process whatever you need to process will transform your life in ways, I just can't even explain.
Well, just like I said to John, I'll say to you, it takes a special kind of warrior to look at that kind of pain as an opportunity, for healing. And I know sometimes it doesn't come until later. Sometimes when you're in the middle of something, you can't look at it like that. It takes processing and integrating and healing and all of the beautiful things that we do. But you both and the entire author cast walks their walk of the practice of that healing and that awareness. And I so appreciate you, Pamela, for being one of those people who does that. That changes the game with pain. What do you want to say about that?
Well, I will say that, again, it took me a little bit to get there. Once I got there, once I learned crystal healing, that was the first thing that I really learned well, and learned how to balance my own chakras and learned how to, shift myself out of that spiral down. That was a game changer. That's where I said, wait a minute, I don't have to be like that. I can, and basically what happens is when you go into depression, you are separated from source. You're separated from your guides, your angels, the ones, and that's why that aloneness, that feeling of I'm all alone. But when you raise your vibration back up, then all of that comes back in, and then that separateness isn't there anymore. And basically that's all depression is, just being separated from your source and in your higher self. And then getting yourself back to that level where you can operate again. It's just, I can't even, people that have never experienced depression or, actually gone through, a period like that, it's really hard to articulate what that feels like. But it's basically like, coming out of a deep sleep or a really, really, I don't know. I don't even know how to word it. Like I said, it's coming alive again and being able to live and move in the world. And when you don't even feel like getting out of bed, some days. So
Yes.
It's good to be on the other side of that and to know that, no matter what you're experiencing in life in that moment, that you're going to get past that, and that later on, you will feel better and you will be able to do things. And it just takes one day at a time, one step at a time, one breath at a time sometimes, especially when you're going through things like death or, a major crisis in your life, just being able to know that past that, you'll feel different, and it would change a lot of things for, we're seeing a lot of suicide, especially since COVID. It's been a lot more. And that's due to isolation and people not being able to reach out to others, during this time.
Definitely.
You were talking about pain and Pamela sharing about depression being, and in my words, it would be like a suffering. So this idea of pain and suffering is so endemic in our society, and actually not just in society, in the world. I mean, there's just this pain and suffering. The thing that I've learned along the way is that no matter what I was experiencing, and I've walked the journey of physical pain for several years, so I get a little bit about what pain can do to us. But there's a part inside of me, there was always a part inside of me that wasn't in pain. And I promise everybody that if they look, they will find a part that's not in pain. They will find a part that's not suffering. And as humans, we can conjure anything we want, because if you get a phone call right now and someone says, so-and-so just died, suddenly that sadness comes. But if you're happy, you can do the same thing. So you can always conjure a feeling. So for me, I remember looking for those parts of me that weren't in pain, that wasn't suffering, and saying, oh, I can just go outside and play, or I can just go and talk to this person. So it's a good point to remember that inside there's always a place that's not suffering. There's always a place that's not in pain. We just have to look for it and operate from there.
Like that. And you both said something. I sometimes want to summarize that. I hear the quotes all the time. You guys are so awesome. Pamela, you said, depression can result from being separated from that higher self, from that source. And I think that then John is talking about the fact that we can reconnect with that in so many different ways very quickly. So you all are just, first of all, you're stellar human beings who give people hope, because sometimes we just don't know how to think about these things in a way that changes up the habitual pattern that we've been in. And I hope if we do anything with these interviews and sharing your words with the world, that's what we do, that we can wake people up to that just different way of thinking about something. So John, you're the one that I wrote down for you was awareness is just noticing something you don't normally notice. That was such a simple, awesome way of saying that. And you're both talking about a little bit about what it means to have a shaman heart, but that's the next question. And Pamela, I want to start with you for that one. What does it mean to you to have or practice a shaman heart?
I think of myself as an X. Like I'm the center point. Part of me is on one side of this world. The other part of me is in the waking, reality world, as people would call it. And so I'm able to cross over and be able to help people with information from the other side. So I'm that X in the middle that's helping cross those worlds. That's how I think of shamanism, because that's what you're doing when you journey for people, and you're looking for information to help them on their path at this moment. And sometimes it comes from ancestors, sometimes it comes from higher source, angels, guides, whatever. And I feel like I'm that centerpiece to help.
Yes, the translator, the bridge crosser guide, that X. I want to help our listeners really understand what you're talking about. And thank you for trying to describe something that is very difficult to describe sometimes, right? Shamanism, shaman heart. What would you add, John? What's your personal experience with what it means to have a shaman heart?
Sure. Well, I'll just back up to a shaman is really that person, that being that is bridging us from this ordinary reality to what is called non-ordinary reality, if we use the terms of shamanism that I'm familiar with. So it's bridging us from where we are to where we can be, right? We can always be something new. For me, the shaman heart is the heart that's always listening. It's the heart that's always ready to just sit and listen and be compassionate, to be that vessel of peace, that vessel of love, and just that energy of understanding. Let that story come. Let that story come. And the shaman, whether the shaman was doing it for the village or for an individual, he or she was always there listening. What does this village need? So for me, the shaman heart is that place where people can empty out and then get filled with a new substance, the substance of peace, the substance of empowerment, whatever it is they need, the shaman heart will bring, because it's not personal. The shaman heart is bridging something from where it is to where it could be. And it uses that non-ordinary substance to get people there. So for me, the shaman heart is always listening It's always compassionate, and it's always helpful and kind.
This really requires presence. And I think at another level, it requires the person who is doing the deep listening to keep coming back to the present moment, to be there, to be present, to hear, but hearing not just with your ears, right?
Hmm. Exactly. What am I
Mhm.
feeling? What am
Yep.
I noticing with my mental faculties? It's a We're entering into the oneness. That's one of these woo-woo kind of words, but we're entering into this place of oneness. And I could talk a little. I was not on a spiritual path. I'll be really clear about this. I was an athlete, and I just kept wanting to be better and better and better. That led me to meditation. I realized suddenly, whoa, there's something else behind this body of mine that motivates me. And that's what we can kind of lean into in the oneness. So the shaman heart is bringing people into that place of oneness. Yes, the physicality. Yes, our emotional, mental, spiritual nature all coming together.
So both of you have talked about this in a way that brings me to the next question for both of you. In the book and all of the Brave Healer Productions titles, we very purposefully take a holistic approach to this healing path. It's really important to have a holistic approach, but a lot of the times that word gets thrown around and people don't even know what that means. So John, I'm going to stick with you for this next one. When it comes to this journey, why holistic?
Yeah, why holistic? For me, I can speak from my own path and I can speak from all the people that I've supported. The holistic approach is I really had to get in touch with my body, what was going on for me, my emotions, what I was feeling, my thoughts, what I was thinking constantly. Oh my gosh. And say, wait a minute, no one else can fix a lot of this for me. No one else can fix any of this for me, but most of this stuff is my stuff. So I like to think that the holistic approach is an inside job. Go inside, figure out what you know about yourself, what's out of balance, and how do you want to get there. Um, I was never a big fan of putting something else into my body that was trying to push down. I never liked, even as a kid, I never liked taking an aspirin, none of that stuff, because my body is doing what it needs to do to get me through this. My walk with pain, I had several injuries in my life, and a lot of times the surgical outcome for those injuries was, yeah, you might still have pain. Yeah, you may or may not have range of motion. That caused me to think, what do I want this body to be able to do 5 years, 10 years from now? And do I want to go this surgical route or do I want to go a holistic route? Not that either one's right or wrong, but the holistic approach was really me getting in touch with how my body felt. And I tell people all the time, no one knows the way you feel better than you do. They can maybe guide you towards understanding that feeling if they're good at it, but nobody knows what you're feeling. So the holistic approach is attending to me attending to me with the help of others. Something like that.
Something like that, right? Yes, definitely. Okay, Pamela, what would you add in terms of your own personal journey? Why holistic? What has that meant to you?
Well, when you say holistic, I'm thinking of, more natural, the natural world versus, you know, taking a pill or, you know, talk therapy is fine. I think that it works for some people. Many people it does not, because it's about how things are stored in the cells in the body, and really holistic avenues allow you to get to that. There's ways that you can better allow the body to heal itself and the mind. And it's all about the mind. It's how you think about it and how you approach it that can get you to that place of healing. So for me, there's no pill, there's no talking, there's no anything that can do what I do when I work with crystals and stones and the other things that I use, to help myself and others. It's just it's exponentially better, faster, and then I'm not doing things, because it seems like all the medications that we are prescribed, it's foreign things outside of our body, and we end up with all sorts of other side effects that then cause other things. So the way that you can do something the most natural way that there is, to me, is what is holistic. And that's what I turn to versus going to other means.
Can you give me just one idea? I know there's probably like 100, but can you give me one idea of how you would use your crystal in that respect? Just give the listeners an idea of like how you use
Well,
them as a tool.
again, people have used crystals since the caveman days, and that's why it's a more natural substance. Each crystal has a resonance. It has a power that it's exuding, and how it actually works is there's a very scientific way. If you've ever heard of the Book of Stones by Naisha Shan, and there's a co-author on there. But anyway, if you look that up, in the beginning, she gives a very good left brain explanation of how crystals and stones work on the body. When you put that stone in the area of the chakra attunes to that power that crystal is exuding. So I'm not sure if I'm saying the terms right. You can go look at what she said, but this is how it works. So what it does is it adjusts it back to where it's supposed to be. And so when you follow, and there's plenty of books out there that tell you which stones which go in which place. So when you put it in that place, it aligns it, it balances it. And I listen to a meditation, I use a crystal, and 15-20 minutes, I'm a different person. I'm not on the floor, oh my God, I can't get out of bed, I can't do anything, I can't shower, I can't move. I'm back to myself. I'm able to get up and go on with my day and not skip a beat. And that to me is invaluable. Once I figured out how to do that for myself, it was like a whole new life, because I didn't have days and weeks and hours of my life that went to this place where I just felt like I couldn't live, I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move. And it's invaluable to me. But with crystals, I found that way to get back to myself and to the natural state that you're supposed to be in is at peace and is in a good, vibration and good place. And all the things in life take us to other places. And sometimes it's chemical in our body that we're able to do that. And sometimes it's just life events.
You gave me
Pamela,
go ahead, John.
Pamela, I love how you're exposing people to something that they don't normally think about, the energy behind the form, right? There's an energy inside our body that we can tend to, right? And the crystal is a way to get access to that energy, because the crystal has a predominant frequency, and we can use that inside the body. And we have access to energy. It's all around us. So meditation is a way that we can bring in energy to align the energy beyond our form, to get the energy inside our body aligned. So this is what I love about this way of working with energy. You're working with crystals, and we can access that energy in so many different ways, some of the ways that I work as well. So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, there's many ways, there's many modalities. You can use essential oils, you can use, as John said, meditation, you can use Reiki. I don't know, a lot of people again haven't used maybe energy work, or know those ways, but that's when you have to go to somebody else to have it done. And that's why crystals and essential oils and meditation are things that you can do on your own. You don't need anybody else, and there's so many things out there. If you go out on the internet, YouTube, and different places and look, you can find chakra balancing meditation, and you just listen to it. And if you really put your heart into it, it's going to work for you, but everybody has to find that thing that works for them.
Well, you gave me an aha about the crystals, so thank you, because I love crystals, and if you saw my desk right now, you'd laugh. But the aha you gave me is that the crystal is at a higher vibration of a certain frequency all the time. And I've heard people putting them out to be bathed in the light of the full moon or the sunshine or whatever to kind of recharge them. I've heard this language, and I always want to make sure that we're helping people understand what the heck we're talking about, with this stuff. But the aha you gave me is, so when we put that on our body will then meet the vibration of that stone, which is the how for me. So thank you for that. Got that little aha moment there about using them.
Yeah,
So
and it sounds really crazy. I mean, people, if you think about it, oh, you lay down with those stones and then you do this and then you feel better. Really?
yes.
What? It sounds like, but again, the Native Americans and the Sumerians, if you go back in history, the Egyptians, all of the different, um, ancient tribes, everybody had crystals in their sphere. If you go and look at the research, it shows, and they even have examples of them. So we know that it's been done and used in a long, and of course, a lot of people don't think about this either, but your watch and computers and all of these other things, how they're able to transfer power and these communications and make these electronic things, move and work. It's transferring power, and that's what it's doing for your body at the same time.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, you two. I have one more really important question I want to ask both of you. Pamela, I'm going to stick with you first for this one. So we author expert teachers love to talk about ourselves more as guides and facilitators on the journey. We don't fix people, we empower them, right, to connect with their own inner wisdom and their own inner medicine. I think that's really important. So I was just hoping that both of you would offer to our viewers today, what's one way you can help them feel empowered? What's your message for them today?
Well, for me, I guess, as John was talking about earlier, it's that inner work. If you know that you're in a bad place, if you know that there are things in your life that you want to fix, figure out how you're going to do that. Are you going to go and seek a healer? Are you going to, go and look for meditations? Are you going to go put yourself in a place to be able to get the information that you need to then help yourself? I mean, there's a lot of books, there's a lot of things to read. If you think crystals is the way you want to go, Judy Hall, several people have wonderful books out there that that tell you all about how to do this. There's books on pretty much everything that in any modality that you're going to find in our Shaman Heart book that people are working with. There's information out there, free to you about how to do this. So find that thing that can help you and help yourself, or find someone to guide you in the way to help yourself. Don't stay in that place of hurting or not being able to move in the world and being the best person that you can be because of whatever these circumstances are, life, trauma, whatever that's put you there. It's like a prison, as John also said. It's figuring out your way, your passage out of that, out of feeling that way, and being there for your family, your kids, your spouse, whoever in your life that there is. You want to be your optimal. You don't want to be that half self. So take care of yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, very, very important. All right, John, how do you want to close us out today? Share your empowering message.
Sure. A couple things I know about life. Some of them I learned the hard way. You can't run away from anything. This is a mistake that I made for so many years. I had to start running towards something. You want to be empowered, pick something you want, go towards it. It may not be the right thing, it may not be the only thing you want, but it's going to get you off of the dime, so to speak. It's going to get you out of that hole. And when you're running towards something, run towards a vision, not a thing, right? So it's not going to be the car, but it's still going to be the way you feel when you have that car, something like that. And the other thing, find someone that's been through what you've been through in life, right? I've been through a lot of stuff in my life. The people that come to me, they're attracted to me because, I know that guy's been through the same kind of stuff that I've been through. Maybe he can give me something. But I promise you that the power that you have inside of you is beyond what you think is possible. You just have to become aware of it. So we're back to that awareness, right? It is noticing something that you normally wouldn't notice. And often when you're sitting talking with someone that's there with presence, they can show you, something about you that I see is this. explore that, feature that in your life. So access is the key. We want to have access to something bigger than ourselves. This is why I love meditation, right? Find a way to meditate to get access, to get some elevation, okay? A lot of the meditations are just visualizations, so make sure you're working with someone that really understands the power of meditations and brings the presence to that meditation. Try it on your own, but if you're just starting out, find someone to help you. Get that access to who you really are. And set a direction to move toward, because you can't run away from anything. No matter where you go, there it is. So go someplace new. You'll be empowered there.
Love it, John. Thank you. Yes. Stop running away from what you don't want and run towards something you do want. I love that quote.
I'm not the first guy to say it, that's for sure, but it's powerful. And when we do it, right? People say, why didn't you do that sooner? Because I couldn't. This is another thing. If you're stuck someplace, don't beat yourself up. You're just stuck there. And if someone says, why didn't you do that sooner? You can look at it, because I couldn't. If I could have, I would have. I know that about my life, and I'm telling you for yourself, just keep moving. Go towards something you love.
Good to be gentle with ourselves, right? So Pamela, John, thank you so much for what you do in the world and for being here today to share it with everyone.
You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
I cannot
My
wait
pleasure.
to share your beautiful chapters with the world in this new book. And listeners, remember, you can join us for our live stream book launch party on April 13th. And that's going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm going to gather with all of the Shaman Heart authors. We're going to be doing some giveaways that day. You're going to find that all hooked up on the Brave Healer Productions Facebook page down in the show notes. And if something John or Pamela said today really gave you the goosebumps or made you sit up a little straighter, got you curious, I know they have you curious, please drop down into the show notes and click on their websites. Go explore. They are very generously there for you for support, to connect with, to find more information. They are up to some awesomeness in the world. All right. So you are not alone, for sure. If you happen to be listening to this interview after April 13th, well, then that means our book is ready. So you got to hop over to Amazon and grab your copy of this amazing Shaman Heart, Turning Pain into Passion and Purpose. And lastly, today, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. So it's time to be brave. See you next time, everyone. Bye, you guys. Thank you.
Bye.